Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming potential for some severe weather over the next few days. Big time potential for Saturday and Sunday across the Dakotas and Minnesota. Currently you are looking at GR2 Analyst as we have a severe weather event ongoing in Montana, up in the mountains there. There was baseball-sized hail reported not too long ago as kind of a trio as the supercell kind of moved over, along with a funnel cloud. Looking at the supercell right now, it's got more of a downburst signature more than anything, but you do have a little bit of weak rotation right there. Another supercell here. Hail's the main threat with that. We can see a lot of hail being dropped out on CC. Looking further north, we can see that again. We have some large hail being dropped out on CC. Now we're gonna go switch it over to our Google Chrome tab in a second here. As I kind of get stuff ready. Okay, so here is Google Chrome. Here's the National Weather Service. Here we go. We have a slight risk of severe weather today with a 2% tornado outlook in a couple areas, 15 wind and then 15 sig hail up in Montana. Tomorrow we have a 2 tor, 15 hail, and 15 wind. Day 3 we have a broad slight risk where all hazards are going to be possible. Day 4, we have a severe risk, and then an isolated severe risk will exist on day 5 as well. Here's a look at what could happen in the northwest the rest of the day today. Kind of these supercells that blow up and kind of move off into the region. Kind of the same deal tomorrow. Out into the central U.S. for tonight, we're expecting supercells to develop out there in Nebraska tonight. And they may pose a threat for a brief tornado or two if they can latch onto a boundary or an area with higher 3 Cape and vorticity. As we can see here, sonics aren't the best for tornadic activity, but they will support some isolated severe weather activity throughout the day. A pretty nasty cluster is expected to develop in south central Illinois tonight of supercells, mainly elevated supercells. Wind and hail will be the main threats with this one. You have somewhat steep lapse rates in the middle levels until you get to around 9 kilometers, and then they get unsteep again. And then deep layer shear is not very good. We can see that cluster kind of moves off and goes south. If we go to the Midwest region, we can also see that the cluster here moves off and then gets kind of strong there. And we have another cluster that forms over south central Illinois again. Mainly going to be a wind and hail threat there. Maybe a threat for a brief tornado, higher 3 Cape area. And we're kind of watch that threat evolve, and then more showers and storms are expected across the southeast on other days. Here's a look at day 3 up in the high plains. We are expecting a severe risk to evolve in the high plains on day 3. Hazards will consist of damaging wind gusts, large hail, and tornadoes. The NAM3 kilometer one's a pretty significant event as we get a bunch of supercells to fire off around 21Z here, north central North Dakota. Taking a look at forecast soundings, we can see we have long and straight hodographs with low level turning. The low level turning will make a hail, will make a tornado threat favorable, and then the long straight hodograph will make the hail threat be very favorable as well. Steep lapse rates will help with the hail threat, and also the hail growth layer being pretty big will also help with that. As we get a little bit later in the day, we can see the LLJ starts to get a bit stronger. We can see our instability values are still pretty steady. And going a little bit further to the south here, and we can see pretty much the same thing here, a little bit less low-level instability though. If we take a look kind of more south of the storm clusters, we get an uncontaminated sounding. There's an EML that tries to sneak in there and disrupt your tornado risk. By this point in the day, we're expecting more of a damaging wind and hail risk. Taking a box sounding in front of this would very much support damaging wind gusts. Given the drier surface area, we cannot rule out a tornado though because of the very enlarged photograph. Jersey, we're expecting storm development in South Dakota as well. based off the name 3 kilometer here, and hail would be the main threat with that, along with damaging wind gusts. Maybe some very large hail and significant damaging wind gusts as well. So I would expect there to be a significant region for severe weather, probably for wind and hail with the next update. As we get towards 01Z here, we can see that the tornado threat may be maximized as the supercells turn a bit and they interact with higher low-level shear and a little bit more low-level instability, creating more enlarged photographs. And if we stay at like 0Z here, we can see that our 850 millibar wind energy starts to get a lot better. You have good 500 millibar wind energy ejecting across the area as well. Looking into your photographs here, we can see the photographs are very favorable as well for tornadic activity. The NAM shows the same general sort of idea, except the EML is a little bit stronger, which is a hot, warm area of air. It's not the best. It's not that strong at points, but 850 gets pretty strong. So I think really North Dakota is your only sure bet on getting storms. South Dakota, this EML might creep in a little bit and cause the storms to not really form. The NAM 3 kilometer doesn't show that happening though, but the NAM, it's getting a little bit risky there. If the storms would fire though, hail and wind would be possible and significant for both. So we go further north here and look at North Dakota. We can see a tornado risk is going to be more prevalent, along with the threat for significant hail and significant wind gusts. 500 millibar, you're seeing that same kind of surface feature evolving. We have pretty good 500 millibar flow across our risk area. 850 millibar is also looking not terrible, especially for the summertime. This system is going to, again, kind of move southward and go into the Dakotas for the next day, as we are expecting a severe weather event. Eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska area, maybe into Wisconsin as well. We can see strong dew points are going to be built up here, and we're expecting storm development 21 to 0Z along this low pressure system. Newest NAM run shows it around 21Z. Here's a sounding in southeast South Dakota in front of the storm cluster. Very supportive for damaging winds and maybe some hail, but probably more damaging winds more than anything. Along the warm front, there will be a tornado risk as well. Not a big one, though. Probably with these storms up here would be the highest risk for any sort of tornadic activity, and we could definitely see it there. Now we got to get an area with a non-contaminated sounding. And there it is. There's going to be some good structure with these storms up here, but I don't think the low-level instability is going to be great enough for our tornado risk, I feel like. As we get to 0Z, we're expecting multiple clusters of storms, including still a tornado threat along this low pressure system in Wisconsin. Pretty decent tornado threats possible if we can get enough surface instability. We still have a severe threat lingering into Iowa. Not a very great one, though. In Nebraska, there's still going to be thick instability profiles all the way up to, like, what, 150 millibar. Photographs will support wind and hail potential as well, as they're not going to be very curved. As we get toward 3Z, the severe threat's going to continue, going into southeast Minnesota and then western Wisconsin. Looks like at this point there's going to be, it looks like the storms are going to try to outrun the instability gradient at that point, which would cause the severe threat to be a lot less, unless the storms are matured enough to kind of stay. This would be a good hail sounding, deep layer shear of 39 knots, and then we also have some else is here, the 3 kilometer SRH and good steep lapse rates in the mid-levels. Now, the limiting factor there would be your 0 to 1 kilometer helicity. Here, there's a little bit too much of an EML for really any severe weather unless you have sustained convection again. Looking on to the next day, Monday, we're expecting another severe weather event for places like Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Looking into the dew points, your dew points are going to be very strong, into the middle and upper 70s here, low 70s. Looking into Wisconsin, we can see as this loads here, we're going to have moderate amounts of instability, guided along with deep layer shear values pretty solidly too. Looking into our 500 millibar wind energy here, we can see we have an area of energy ejecting into the region here. This is going to help enhance the threat for severe weather as well. Kind of northeast Iowa here, maybe this is where your threat is maximized, and that is maybe correct. I gotta see where the best instability shear kind of maximized area would be. So it looks like with this, it would be like northwestern Illinois, southwest Wisconsin there is going to be your maximized wind shear. Yep, there you go. So pretty good photograph there for damaging wind development along with hail development. The dry air, there's enough dry air at the surface, but the thing is your PWAs are a bit high, so maybe damaging winds will be the main threat. As we get more into Iowa here, the surface gets a little bit more dry, and we start to see a little bit more decay, but it's still kind of moist. Getting towards 0Z, we can see that we have a lot of instability that's going to be stored across the risk area. If we take a box sounding here, we can see there you go, your surface gets a lot more dry, and that's going to favor more damaging wind and hail potential. Solid photograph to support more unidirectional profiles, which will give you clusters and maybe organized bowing segments as well. Wind shear with this sounding is pretty supportive. Tornadoes are not going to be a threat with this day at all. Not expecting tornadoes. Tornadoes will be possible though with Saturday and Sunday. And then we have another area to watch on Tuesday. This is going to be kind of stretching from the northeast all the way into portions of the Midwest. We look into the Midwest here, and we can see that we have, again, more post-frontal profiles here. We can see photograph is going to favor, again, wind and hail probably. Lapse rates are steep enough to support that. Shear is not the best in the deep layer, 19 knots, so you're not going to have very organized storms. As you get more into the PA, New York area, we can look at soundings here, and they show more potential for damaging winds. Rather straight-line photographs, which would suggest scattered damaging wind potential. It's a little moist at the surface for significant wind gusts, so they're going to remain more weak, probably 50 to 60 mile per hour, maybe a isolated 50 or 65 or so. 500 millibar wind energy is going to be looking strong enough to support this system as well. Pretty strong, 76 knots up there in New York, and if we take a sounding there is supportive environment for wind gusts, maybe hail, maybe a tornado if we can get the low-level shear kind of not backed. And we can see the low-level shear is rather strong too, which will support potential for maybe an isolated tornado. But the thing is, you're going to have that low-level turning or storm relative velocity, and a lot of models do not show that, so that's why your tornado risk is going to be a bit lower. Here's a look at kind of the mean signal off the Euro for day 3. Euro is expecting dew points into the, drumroll, mid 70s, low upper 60s. I was about to say 80s. No. Mixed layer Cape upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram with widespread 2,500 to 3,500. Looking into the next day, we can kind of see the same general thing, 2,500 to really widespread 3,000s. Wind shear will definitely support the threat for significant severe weather. 850 millibar jet energy when it loads. This will support a tornado or two. I'm thinking the corridor for tornadoes will probably be confined to where the surface low develops, which is probably going to be here. Surface low lower front combination. Here is the next day. We can see not really much 850 millibar wind energy at all. It's going to be mainly an upper level wind kind of fed off event. If we go to 300 millibar and look at kind of your streamlines, we can kind of see that your severe weather is going to be mainly kind of compact into northern Illinois, portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Kansas. Now, over the past few days, we have had our fair share of severe weather since we have last uploaded. Yesterday, I believe this was yesterday, yep, 7/6, we had a EF2 tornado across Ohio, and then we had really a widespread wind event there. A couple tornadoes occurred in Montana and Colorado as well. The day before that, we had a derecho event occur across portions of South Dakota that led to a brief tornado in Iowa, and then some other tornadoes that occurred in the mid-Atlantic states. On July 4th, I ended up going storm chasing, and I will have a video on that out over the next few days. I ended up chasing this cluster of storms that brought damaging wind gusts across portions of the U.S., or portions of Illinois. This cluster here. The day before that, we had another severe weather event with significant damaging winds as one of the main threats, and we had some of those. Another significant wind event in the high plains. Another damaging wind event across the northeast. And then really, this is a day that we really didn't have much happening anywhere. But yeah, that's going to wrap up kind of what's happened over the last few days in the severe weather potential for the next few days. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.